You're listening to TehachaPod with Budge, Corey Costelloe, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome to another episode of TehachaPod. Budge, Corey Costelloe, Greg Garrett in studio. We're back together again, and it feels good to be in the room talking. We are distanced apart in a safe manner.
6 foot. I got my yardstick.
That's right. But we're feeling good about it. Today we've got a special guest on the phone, so we won't do any idle chit-chat prior to. We've got Kern County Supervisor Zack Scrivner of the 2nd District, which represents Tehachapi in a very wide area, who's joining us today. Zack is from Taft to Boron on the south end of the county. It's quite a wide stretch. Zack, welcome to the show. We really appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
We want to talk about some things that are going on. We're still in this COVID-19 crisis that's going on here in California. We're trying to talk about reopening. The County Board of Supervisors, you guys have been busy and dealing with the health department, with the state of California. Let's go right to you and let's talk about some updates. What can you share with us from your level?
Thank you very much. And obviously we are concerned about the health and safety of our residents. I know you guys at the city, everyone at the city shares that with us, and we share that concern from the national level, the state of California, and here in Kern County. What we are seeing in the course of our efforts to observe the governor's stay-at-home order, we are unfortunately seeing our economy in Kern and throughout the state and the nation being hit tremendously hard. I have conversations with business owners, as I'm sure you folks do as well, every day, listening to the struggles that they are enduring because of the lack of being able to open their doors and to employ their workers, and struggling to pay their leases and pay for their own personal family expenses. And so I think that it is not an either-or choice to be safe and responsible and control our infection rate and or to open the economy. Those we can do both, and we can do both safely and responsibly, and we have to do both because I don't believe that we can continue this lockdown. The efforts from the Board of Supervisors, the board appointed myself and my colleague, Supervisor Mike Maggard, to an ad hoc committee that Supervisor Maggard and I have named the Kern County Back to Business Ad hoc Committee. The purpose of this committee is to work with our various industry clusters in Kern County to achieve best practices, to get their input on how they, as a business owner, working with and sharing ideas with the other business owners in their particular industry, working on ways in which they can open safely and responsibly. The other part of the committee's work has been to set up an advisory committee made up of representatives from throughout the county. I have one of my appointees is Lydia Cheney, our Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council president. Also, the mayor of Taft, Dave Knorr. The other supervisors have also appointed 2 members to that committee. Some represent chambers of commerce. Others have businesses that obviously they are struggling to keep open and keep their employees employed. And so the efforts there are to be an advisory group to our Kern County Public Health to help to navigate the governor's guidelines as to what is an essential business and what's non-essential. We've all heard that. Certain businesses are essential, they can be open. Others are non-essential, they have to be closed. But even within those guidelines, there was a lot of gray area for businesses that weren't mentioned. I'll give you an example. Golf courses, tennis clubs, florists at one point were another. And so that committee works to help the public health department as an advisory committee to say, yes, we believe that these businesses can open if they are following these certain guidelines. And so during the last 2.5 weeks that we've been working on this committee, we've found ways to help certain businesses open up that are in that gray area. And every one of those that we open up is another business that is able to bring their employees back another business that's going to be able to pay their rent or their lease, et cetera. And so that part of it's been very successful. But the other major accomplishment that we've done so far with this ad hoc committee speaks right to the governor's order for when businesses can open, that executive order. And that executive order has 4 stages. We have been in stage 1, and that was that essential businesses. The governor last week said that we could move into stage 2, but stage 2 has phases to it. And so originally, stage 2 are just those businesses that are able to do curbside pickup or delivery. It doesn't include being able to open a restaurant. Opening restaurants and other destination retail, having customers actually being able to come into your store, that is in the latter parts of stage 2. And so what the governor said was that counties that can demonstrate certain data points, certain metrics as far as infection rates, et cetera, that they would be able to accelerate through stage 2 faster than others. Now, originally with these guidelines, there were only 10 small counties that were going to be able to qualify. Kern County was not one of those. Obviously, we're not a small county population-wise. And so we looked at those guidelines. The guideline that was going to prevent us from being able to open our restaurants and our other destination retail to accelerate through stage 2, the requirement that we were not going to be able to achieve was a requirement that said you could only have one COVID-19 death in any 14-day period, and also only one COVID-19 infection per 10,000 population in any 14-day period. The reason that was going to be so incredibly difficult for us is that we have one skilled nursing facility in Bakersfield, Kingston, that accounts for half of our COVID-19 deaths, just right there. And every death is tragic. And what's happening at Kingston with the infection rates among their employees and among the residents, and the death rate there, it's tragic. But we believe that had to do with their protocols, that is a state licensed and a state-regulated facility. Our public health department has no oversight whatsoever. And so that, to us, we went to the drawing board and we looked at our numbers. We believe that the numbers that should be reflective of a community's ability to open are the number of hospitalizations that you have and the increase in those hospitalizations. Our hospitalizations have been, for the last 3 weeks, have been flat. We have seen no increase in hospitalizations. We've been hovering in around the 25, 30 range, and so we've seen no large increases in our hospitalizations. So this ad hoc committee, Supervisor Maggard and I, along with our public health director and our county administrative officer, Ryan Alsop, we asked for our acute care hospitals, all 10 acute care hospitals, and their chief medical officers to have a conference call with us to discuss Kern County's numbers on hospitalizations and looking at our infection rate, and to come up with what we believe is a better measurement. And so what we came up with, everyone agreed that our hospitalizations rates were steady. We weren't seeing increases. And that, remember, is why we were all told that we needed to observe this stay-home order, why we needed to shut down businesses, because we didn't want to have a situation like we were seeing in Italy, for instance, where the hospitals were overwhelmed, the ventilators were not available, and you had to start making choices between which patients got a ventilator and which one didn't. That's a tragic choice that we would never want to have to make. And so unanimously, they all agreed that Kern County, based on our hospitalization rates, was ready to reopen safely and responsibly. They signed on onto a letter with us. 22 members of this hospital group signed on to a letter, and we sent it to the governor's office. We had that call last Wednesday. We got that letter to the governor on Friday, and then on Monday at his press conference, he said that those requirements were going to be changed. And because of that effort, I believe we completely flipped the script on what was happening. It was a game changer, and now Kern County meets the requirements, the new requirements, and so we have submitted our request to be able to accelerate through stage 2 so we can get our restaurants open and our destination retail open, and we can be poised and ready to move into stage 3.
That's great. 'Cause Kern County is different. It is not the same as the rest of the state.
Yeah, and every county's got its own little quirks, and we definitely have ours that should be considered.
And so, Zach, this ad hoc committee, so you give us a really thorough explanation from 10,000 feet on how the county is leading the efforts, communicating with the state, and we appreciate that so very much. It's so important to get these businesses back open and people, your feet back under them. But how, if you were a barber or a nail salon and you wanted to, how would you figure out a way, how is this task force going to bring that business owner to open its doors? How is this task force
Ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc, I'm sorry, there is a difference.
Yeah.
There is a difference. Ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
How are you going to help them out?
Well, thank you for that, Greg. And before I answer that, I want to thank the city of Tehachapi for their letter of support for local control, for our county to have the ability to navigate our own course, so to speak, look at our own specific situation when it comes to these numbers, because we are different. And frankly, communities within the county are different.
Well,
I
it's
think
so
when
important.
You look at that,
it's so sorry to cut you off, but it's so important to have a great relationship with our county, state, and federal leaders, and you cannot put a price tag on that. And the city of Tehachapi works extremely well with you and your colleagues, and we right back at you, ditto. We appreciate what you're doing. So, and this
Thank
is
you.
a prime example of that. This podcast, actually. I'll let you finish.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
absolutely. There are a couple of ways that we are working to help our small businesses, but specifically when we're talking about our salons and our barbershops. I do not agree with this. I just want to preface that with saying I do not agree with the governor's decision that our salons and our barbershops and our churches, our fitness centers, provided they have the right protocols for sanitation, for disinfecting, for distancing, social distancing, etc., that they should not be open right now, today. But the governor, in his executive order, has said that they may not open until stage 3. And so our salons, our barbershops, they are obviously struggling. They still have rent to pay, if they don't own their own building, and most of them don't. And so, and then you have the folks that obviously work there that probably pay a rental fee to the salon or the barbershop owner. They're struggling. They are eligible for some unemployment benefits, but from the ones I've spoken to, many of them have applied but have not received them yet, and so those folks are hurting, and
you just
we
can't
need to
print
be working
money
to get them open.
Right, and you have other examples like we're hosting the farmers market now in conjunction with Main Street downtown Tehachapi. That's a great thing, and people are milling about, but you can't go to church. The logic, right. and then we have county to county. It's confusing for the average guy. He doesn't understand the complexities that we have in front of us. But it's so simple, but so complex at the same time.
It is, and the rules, and I believe that that the rules are arbitrary when you're making decisions. I mean, why can't I go in and get my hair cut? Why can't I go to church? Yet, I can go to a grocery store that has people throughout the aisles. There are ways to do this responsibly. There's ways to do this safely. But the governor, at least to this point, has said these businesses cannot open. And I know that there are folks out there that say just open. The county public health department, we have an educating posture on this. Mm-hmm. We are informing people about what the governor's order says, about what the guidelines are. But it is the governor who is telling businesses when they can open and when they cannot. And so I think that people need to understand that. And then folks have questions, well, why don't the businesses just open? What's going to happen? If you have a state license, if you own a restaurant and you have a liquor license, if you own a salon and you have a license through the state for cosmetology, cutting hair, doing nails, etc., and so many businesses have these licenses, the governor has threatened those types of businesses that have opened with the revocation of those licenses. So there are serious repercussions for these businesses if they do open in violation of the order. And so that's what I think folks need to understand that what we're trying to do on the county level is to provide all the information we can, the education we can, and to advocate for those businesses on the state level to be able to open. In addition to that, we have also just now approved at our meeting we had yesterday our small business loan program. As part of the $157 million that the county received through the Federal CARES Act that will be distributed amongst a lot of different needs that we have throughout the county. Our response to homelessness, the alternative care site that we built at the fairgrounds that can have 250 beds up and running if we ever do see a surge in our hospitals. The types of relief that will be provided to cities through the program. There's $25 million that is carved out of that for the small business loan program. And what we're targeting are true small businesses. Those businesses that through the Paycheck Protection Program from the federal government, which did help a lot of businesses, but many of those were big businesses. They're not the little mom and pop business, and so those are the ones that we are targeting with this program. Our criteria for these are businesses that have fewer than 50 employees, that have less than a $5 million annual revenue, that are physically located in Kern County, that have at least one full-time employee, 2 part-times, or 50% of their owners that live in Kern County. And they can apply for a loan of up to $75,000 through this program. And the funds can be used for 34% of the loan can be used for payroll. Up to 33% of the loan can be used for rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. 33% of the loan for general working capital, which is a lot more flexibility than they were given through the PPP program. And so we think that this is going to be a lifeline to those businesses like our salon owners, our barbershops, and our small fitness center owners that are not able to open yet until we get into stage 3. This could be a lifeline to them. And while we continue to advocate for their ability to open, for us to be able to move through stage 2 and get into stage 3, as the governor has delineated the different stages, we want to be able to help them in the interim.
Zach, I was wondering what, obviously this continues to change. It's very fluid, and we've heard that term a ton, and even the governor changes, his timeline, which is good. I think he reacts appropriately as the virus numbers actually come in. But you mentioned that Tuesday that you sent the note and the letter up to the governor. Any idea on timeline of when he gives it a thumbs up or thumbs down on something like that?
Yes, as of Tuesday morning, our public health department, they had a conference call with a lot of other county representatives from around the state with the state public health. And what they told us was once they received that attestation, once they received our plan to reopen, and we gave them our different data points that demonstrated our ability to do so safely and responsibly, they said it would take them 1 to 3 days to review that. Now, we were told later in the day that they were going to try and notify us by today, so in just a 1-day turnaround. Believe me, we're eager to see that happen. Shannon Grove has continued to advocate for us very effectively up there, talking with the governor and with his administration staff to try to get our approval accelerated. And so as soon as we get that green light, so to speak, which we're hoping will be today by the close of business, but they did indicate that it may take 1 to 3 days for us to be able to receive that. We are going to be notifying immediately all of our restaurant owners, all of these, to the extent that we can broadcast this to our destination retail, that they can now open and start to have customers coming back into their establishment. One of the advantages for our restaurants is that they are permitted through our public health department, so we have contact information for all of them in some form or another. And we also have been working with our chambers of commerce from around the county to make sure that they have the information and they can help us to disseminate the state's recommended guidelines on how these restaurants were open, and so we can get the word out. And of course, we'll be hoping that our friends in the media will accurately and effectively help us get that message out as well.
I think there's a lot from Senator Grove. You brought that up, and we brought it up on this show. Really, the beginning, a lot of this, we asked about local control, and she pointed out that, believe me, I'm going to be pushing for it. And I think the combination of what the Board of Supervisors has done, and then, you use the term advocating on our behalf. Those of us that know Senator Grove, she has a very persistent way to advocate, and I think she's probably done a pretty darn good job on behalf of everybody in Kern County, getting a lot of changes, I think, to the governor's mindset during all this.
Well, I will tell you, when we had that letter ready, we had the conference call with the doctors a week ago tonight. It was last Wednesday night. We got all of their approvals on it, had that ready to go on Friday, sent that to the governor, and sent a copy to her as well. And she was on the phone with the governor in his office immediately. and that between having that coalition of those medical experts, those people that that day in and day out are seeing the progression of this virus in the community. They're seeing those patients come into the hospital. They know their capabilities. They know what they can handle from a capacity standpoint. They knew that what originally the governor was telling counties they had to meet were not realistic for large counties and were not the right measurement. Once between the effort of the county with that coalition of doctors, and then Senator Grove's advocacy for us up on the state level, that I believe was what turned the tide. That was a game changer. And I also believe that other counties around the state have Kern to thank, because I think we effectively made the argument. And now you see counties like Sacramento and San Diego meeting those guideline metrics as well, and their applications are in.
Zack, here in Tehachapi, you threw out the name Lydia Cheney as being involved in your ad hoc committee, and we know Lydia is a small business owner. I think she is very well spoken and understands small business. What's her input been like as I kind of circle back to your ad hoc committee?
Sure.
I just found it was really interesting that that you guys put together this committee, and the different people that you chose to represent the district. I think Lydia was outstanding here from Tehachapi. What's the take been getting a chance to work with local business owners? I know you said you had the mayor of Taft involved, but when you've got someone
who is also a business owner himself,
and when you've got two business owners that you bring in and they're feeling the impact, what's that been like as far as having those conversations as a part of this committee?
Well, I think that the efforts of the committee have been outstanding and have helped, as I said, several different business sectors to be able to open up. But it's also really hard work. And these folks that are on the committee, they have to have a mind for business, but they also have to have a mind to the safety of the community. I mean, no one wants to see a situation where we open up irresponsibly too rapidly and we start to see a surge in cases and a surge in deaths, heaven forbid. And so we are day in and day out asking these folks that are advising the public health department to weigh those two very, very important aspects of this effort. And as I said, it's not an either-or choice, in my opinion, or the opinion of the people on the committee. I mean, you can do both. You can protect the health and safety of the public and reopen business at the same time. But they're going through, and it can be a little tedious looking at the different submissions from these business sectors, from these folks that feel that they can open and do it safely, looking at what they're proposing as far as their best practices on how they would do that. How many people would they have in the business at one period of time? What would they do to ensure that you would be able to reduce disease transmission? And so these are like recycling centers. These were, as I said, the golf courses. And in Kern, we never closed our golf courses. But what we did was we went to the different operators of the golf courses and we said, if we allow you to stay open, how will you do it? How will you observe the different guidelines, the social distancing, et cetera? And those golf courses got together and they came back to us with a plan. And we looked at their plan. We said, this makes sense. These are things that we believe will work. going to jeopardize your employees or the public. And so it's been a really great give and take with our industry sectors because, I believe that government shouldn't be a top-down, type of structure. I think we need to be listening to people we represent, and we're there, we're there to help, and we're there to put, certain, guidelines in place. But really, we need to be listening to them because they know better than us how their business operates, and they can come to us with best practices. And when one sector gives you a list of best practices, that can be applied to other sectors. And so the folks on the committee are looking at these various different operations and what they're proposing as far as how they would be able to open safely and responsibly. And they're then recommending to the Public Health Department what those guidelines should look like. And we're getting people back to work, and we're doing it in a safe and responsible manner.
If there's a small business owner out there that's listening and wants to get more information, where can we send them? Where can they go to get this information, whether it's regarding this business loan program that's about to kick off, or if they want maybe more information on the ad hoc committee is looking into how businesses can offer up what they can do to make this adjustment, that you guys can look at. Where do they want to go?
If businesses are not specifically listed on the governor's restricted list as far as his stage 3, so if you're and unfortunately right now, if you are a business that's in stage 3, the governor is saying no, you may not open. But if you're not specifically listed and you're in that what we're calling the gray area, those that are not listed as essential or non-essential, then that's something that advisory committee to public health will be able to take up. And so those folks should contact the Public Health Department. And that's how the Public Health Department is bringing these types of businesses to the committee, to the advisory committee for their consideration. So that's how that part works. But if you're a business and you're interested in the small business loan program, you can go, and this should be up by, the website will be up. There's going to be a specific website that will be dedicated to that. This website should be up in a matter of a couple of days. We're looking to launch this program next week. But you just go to kerncounty.com, and you're not going to miss it. It'll be very prevalent on our site where people can go to learn about the program and learn how to apply.
Perfect.
Sounds great. Okay. Well, Zack, is there anything else you want to include? I know we're pushing our time limit, so we just want to make sure that if there's any other information that you want to get out, that if we haven't covered it, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, no, I don't have anything specifically, but I do just want to assure our community that the Board of Supervisors, the County Public Health Department, the health and safety of our citizens, that is always going to be paramount for us. That is the most important thing for us. But at the same time, we know that our business community and folks that are employed by the various businesses throughout the county, they're hurting. And, we recognize that we can open and we can do it safely, we can do it responsibly, and we have been advocating on your behalf to the governor and to the state public health department constantly. And we, I believe, have shown very measurable success, and we're going to continue to do so until we finally get to the point where the governor lifts the stay-at-home order for Kern County.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate the efforts that you and the rest of the Board of Supervisors and the entire county is doing for all of us here that live here in the county of Kern. We appreciate it, and we thank you for your time. We know how busy you are, and we appreciate you joining us right here on TehachaPod. Thanks, Zack.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything you do.
And folks, if you'd have a question, a topic idea, send us an email, media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We'd love to hear from you. And for those that are listening overseas, our troops at our military bases, thank you. We're thinking of you as we head into the Memorial Day weekend as we record this, July 4th around the corner. So we thank all of our military veterans and active duty members that listen. Our thoughts are with you at this time. So thank you for joining us here on TehachaPod.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.